You're not having a breakdown. You're crossing a threshold. There are 6 of them. Let's find where you are. Welcome back to High Frequency Mind. I'm Lindsay Goodwin. Today, I'm sitting with JJ DiGeronimo, spiritual catalyst, author, and host of the Together We Seek podcast. JJ has spent years guiding individuals through exactly these thresholds, the ones that look like unraveling from the outside and a remembering from the inside. In this conversation, she walks us through all 6. Let's remember. Welcome home. Welcome, JJ. How are you?
Oh, so good, Lindsay. I'm loving continuing this discussion.
Yeah.
I love your work. I love what you're doing here, and I'm excited to jump in.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I am as well. And it's just so exciting about your story. And you do so much. You and I are very aligned in that area. We do so much stuff. And you have quite a background. But something that really jumps out to me is you identify yourself as a spiritual catalyst. And I'm super excited to learn more and share with the listeners about really what that is and how you use that in your work.
Well, it has been quite a journey to get here. I've been really working my own spiritual journey for over a decade. My mom started taking me to Lilydale when I was 11, and I'm 53 now. So I've had bits and pieces throughout my life, but it's been a journey. Like when I went through my own sort of crossroads and opportunities to lean in or lean out, I leaned in because I was given the tools as a young child. And I feel like the spiritual catalyst in me was what I had to do to pull myself up and over the line of understanding why we are on the planet and the work that we are here to do. And now I help others do the same thing.
That's amazing. And what do you think is the number one sort of like, I guess, like, what have you figured out about yourself, about what your number one purpose is? And maybe someone that's listening to this that might be thinking about kind of what their purpose is too. What do you feel that you're here for?
It's interesting because I follow a lot of spiritual traditions and ancient wisdom, and I would say that I'm very much aligned to my North Node. And so that is in your astrology chart.
Mhm.
So my North Node is in my 6th house, which is like practical tips and tools, and my South Node is in my 12th house. So I am here to share spiritual tips, tools, connections, and people to make everyday living easier. And before I even knew that, I was already writing about that in my books. I was already offering that at my retreats, not really realizing that that was my work to do here. But if you're interested in what your life's work is, or the listener, you can always go to astro.com, pull your birth chart, and check out your North Node. We have plenty of astrologers between Lindsay and I to help people really figure out what that is. But I wouldn't say it's like super easy to just like jump into it. A lot of things have to move and shift for you to really fully align to your North Node. And all the other planets in your birth chart often kind of tell you what you're going to be going through as you're working towards that North Node.
That's amazing. And how did you become just, I know that you asked me this when I was on your podcast, which we will talk about at the end. You have a wonderful podcast. But how did you get to a place where you trusted this? Like you trusted that, oh, I'm going to go with my North Node and I'm going to trust my spiritual team and I'm going to trust my inner knowing. How did you get to that place? Where do you think that all started?
Well, let's be honest. I'm still questioning at times. So I wouldn't say I'm 100% there, but I would say that learning mindfulness back in around 2016, 2017 was key for me because it allowed me to be in the present moment without the mind chatter. And I feel like I've always prided myself on getting things done and being sort of a person that pulled things across the line. And to do that, I'm always thinking and strategizing and figuring out what to do next and getting ahead of what could be coming down the pipeline. But by doing that, I also was not living in the present moment. And so one of my biggest hurdles and kind of one of my biggest life lessons was to live in the present moment. And once I was able to really sort of crack the code on that, then I was able to notice the things that were happening around me, conversations, numbers, opportunities, invitations. And little by little, I was like, "Oh, there's no accident in some of these things. Like, this is all sort of a path and a journey of where I'm going." And now I actually see it more clearly.
Mhm. That's wonderful. And do you when you're seeing all these signs, do you the way that I see it is I feel like the universe is like a masterpiece. It's constantly creating a masterpiece for you and really how you're perceiving it. And do you feel that way that you're seeing all these different for somebody that might be listening to this, like, there's numerology and people talk about spirit guides or angels, colors. There could be a lot of different dreams, mindfulness, meditation, having experiences in meditation and channeling. And so, do you feel that? Do you feel that when you're doing this, do you feel you're almost like putting a masterpiece together of like all these different clues to create something that's giving you a message?
I do now. I would say when I first started, I was just so curious.
Mhm.
And, with my human design, I'm a trial and error person, a 3-5. And so actually a 5-3. So I have to try everything out myself. And that's sort of how I
Mhm.
started building this community of light workers, healers, mystics, and messengers. Is I was going to all of them and being like, okay, what do I need to learn about myself? What are new tools I can start using? And when I started putting the details together for my third book, Seeking, I wanted to show people that these are people that live next door to you or down the street from you. These are not necessarily people that are sitting on a hill or in Sedona or Machu Picchu. They're actually people that live on the same streets as us. Their kids go to the same school. And so I started my second podcast because I wanted to show people that these are normal, everyday people that are going through things just like you. And by the way, their gift is, they're a Akashic record reader, they're an
Mhm.
astrologer, they're a medium, they know human design. And I needed to kind of see my life in all different directions, like a prism.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I picked and choose what worked for me. And,
Mhm.
I'm constantly updating my kind of playbook as I go along. But I would say I'm a lot more trusting now because it's so much more obvious to me of the things that are happening around me. And I have to laugh. You see that blank? I have to laugh sometimes because it's comical at times how the phone will ring or, I get invited to something or something falls out of my schedule. Like I'm just not supposed to be doing it. And I used to spend a lot of time thinking like, "Oh gosh, I wish I woulda, coulda, shoulda." And now I'm just like, "Oh, I just wasn't meant to do that now." And it brings me a lot more inner peace.
Absolutely, and I love that, and yes, every time we talk, there's some big blink that happens, and it's crazy. Last time we were talking on your podcast, I think it was, or the meeting we had, you put on a necklace, and when you put the crystal necklace on, there was all this light that came around you, and it was so beautiful. And that's so funny because you didn't even, like, call that in. It just you're just about to share something, and the universe is like, "Oh, wait, we need to make sure that that there's some sort of obvious," like you said, it's just so obvious, and that's exactly what you, shared. It is obvious. It's interesting because I feel the more that people will often ask, I will have clients that will they won't necessarily see things. They won't be clairvoyant and they want to be. But it's like the more that you ascend, the more that you trust, the more that those things just show up naturally. And you can't not see it. You can't unsee it. It's just there. So this leads me into I'm really interested for you to talk about you have a new book that's coming out, which is Illuminate Your Path, and it's the 6 phases of spiritual awakening. And this is really beautiful because I know so much of what you share is about your story and what we're talking about in your new book, which comes out in May of 2026, so this year. So she's working on it now. JJ's working on it. So why don't you tell us about exactly what the phases of awakening are and really how people can learn to trust that inner wisdom that we're talking about?
Amazing because I don't know if I thought I was going through the 6 phases of spiritual awakening, but as I interviewed different podcast guests and talked about their journey, how their gifts emerged, how they started to trust their gifts, because a lot of people have such beautiful gifts that they kind of brush off. They're like, "Oh, I've always done that." Or, someone told me not to use those gifts. Or, I kind of do this sometimes, but I don't talk about it. We all have natural gifts that we brought down with. In fact, we hand selected those gifts. And oftentimes, through the process of coming down here and being in this school of learning that we are in, we forget. And things will happen in your life that give you the opportunity, or what I like to call the doorways, to lean in or walk through. And many times that starts with a crossroads. And
Mhm.
that crossroads could be a passing of someone you love. You could be losing a job. You could get a medical diagnosis you weren't expecting, or someone in your family is. And I think these are the opportunities that really encourage us to get present and really work through the situation that is presented to us. And I like to say, get curious with like, what are the resources available to you, different than maybe what you've been taught to do? What people can help you? I have a wonderful, John is a wonderful medical intuitive. I've sent many people to him to just get another layer of advice, and they've learned things about themselves in the process. So, I think moving through from crossroads to curiosity to seeking, which is where I spent a lot of my years, was really understanding who I was, why I'm here, and the hurdles some people will call the wounded child or the inner work, the things I had to work through, which were my money stories, my relationship with my mother, perfectionism, self doubt. Like I had to unearth all of that, as many of the guests do when they're leaning into their gifts, so that I could create space for more light and love. And I walk readers through 6 phases, because you may not get to all 6 in this lifetime, or you might go through all 6 3 times, depending on what you do. Like, I've met Akashic record readings that used to do Reiki, and now we're doing, geometry, architectural design based on, like, the structures of the pyramids. So, you could go through it many times, or you don't, and either way, it's fine. You've already know what your soul's work is here to do, and allowing yourself to open up to what is possible is really what I characterize as the catalyst piece of the work.
Yeah, amazing. And what would you say that you see often of maybe a common theme of what people might be going through more than once in those
Well,
phases?
I think the people that learn multiple gifts or bring forward multiple gifts, like they have, they might start out as a social worker, but they end up being a Reiki master, and then they end up doing like medical intuitive. I feel like the openness and the belief that you have gifts here to share. And I think that mindset that I'm here to uncover my gifts and use them as often as possible is often a winning strategy, or an accelerated strategy to move through the 6 phases of spiritual awakening.
Okay, and those 6 phases, I'm just looking here just so everyone knows. So we've got the new moon, the waxing crescent, the first quarter, the waxing gibbous, the full moon, and the guiding star. So this is the 6 phases of what you're discussing. And how so beautiful. I mean, the moon is incredible, right? Like how it links up to, well, it links up to the subconscious mind. That's one big part. I don't know how much you know about that, but that's something that I study, as well as our cycles as women. I mean, there's so much with the moon. It's so much with the emotion. And so out of these 6 phases, which one is your I don't know. I don't know how to, I'm just thinking of just how to ask this. This might be just like maybe something that would be interesting to ask you, but and I don't know if you'll know how to answer it, but which one's your favorite? Which one do you least like?
So I will say that, yes, I picked the moon on purpose because I feel like the feminine gifts are still buried. We all have masculine and feminine energy, and this is the time to like really grounding into the gifts that we brought that are here to raise the frequency of the planet. So I feel like if you think about the phases of the moon, we are here to cycle through things, that there is no end, there is no beginning. It's just about illumination. And I feel like for many of us, we need to give ourselves the gift of time to really learn about ourselves, what's holding us back, and what we're curious of leaning into. My favorite is the new moon or the crossroads. or the beginning, which is the phase number one, because I feel like we all go through those hundreds of times in our lifetime. And every time it gives us an opportunity to walk through that doorway. And so if you're going through a crossroads or recently been through a crossroads and you did not lean into the curiosity of what's happening around you, you have the opportunity to do it again. And I think Oprah said a long time ago, decades ago, I want to catch it on the whisper and not the two by four. So I would say if things keep happening to you, catch it on the whisper, so that you don't have to deal with like such a heightened crossroads that is so much work to get through. So that's probably my favorite is the beginning because we all have them. And then as you move through the six phases, I think for a lot of us, you know, we often don't trust that we are here to help others. And I feel like when you heal yourself, those are the tools you can use to help others illuminate their path. And I think that's the most challenging is to believe that we are here to help others and the gifts that we carry are perfect for a certain group of people that we will find or they will find us. And I think that's kind of the challenge is to really have that deep level of trust that we've picked these gifts on purpose and there's specific people that we are going to work with those gifts to help.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. And I love that you picked the crossroads. So essentially, I feel intuitively that you're so drawn to the transformation. That's really where your gift is that I'm here to help people through the transformation, but I like that sort of energy. I like the energy of helping and also with myself of having that I'm going to say challenge, having that challenge of I'm leveling it up. That's the catalyst, right? That's the spiritual catalyst. That's the alchemist. And so you really enjoy that energy. I do too, and it took me a long time to accept that because I kept thinking, why is this happening? Why do I always have all these things? And until you accept that, okay, well, this is what I'm here for. I'm here to understand the deeper root of really what transformation is and how can I alchemize this. So, yeah, beautiful. I absolutely love that. And what the guiding star, like I don't know a lot about that. Tell me about more about that phase.
Yeah, well, you're definitely a guiding star. So, right, you've done the inner work, you've been curious, you've done the shifting, you've healed yourself, and now you're a guiding star for others. And people come to you for the gifts that have emerged through you. And this is why people can go through all 6 phases multiple times because some, light workers, healers, mystics have multiple offerings, and each one of them took them a portion of time to move through until they got to a place where they felt comfortable, and I feel like the most magical part of what I've been able to do over the last decade is I have not only visited hundreds of practitioners myself, is I've created a community for them, so not only do they work with each other and work on retreats, go to each other's retreats, sign up for different types of, sessions with each other. But I feel so confident that wherever you are in your journey, you can find a practitioner to help you get to the next step.
And what would you say that you as a practitioner that is helping so many people, what do you think is been the biggest challenge for you in your own spiritual awakening?
Trust. It
Trust?
really is trust because I'm like, is this enough? Should I be doing more? Why am I not a full-time
Mhm.
astrologer? Like I question the validity of what I'm doing at times because I'm like, is this enough? Should I be doing something else? And I
Mhm.
have been reassured through many, many of my practitioners that I'm exactly where I need to be, that I need to pay attention to the opportunities present themselves and share the knowledge. And I feel like that advice is applicable to everybody. And I too question myself and I question, should I be doing this? Can I be doing this? And I think for all of us, the self doubt is so, so real. But I get up every day because I'm super passionate about what I'm doing. And I love connecting all of these people to really help each other through their journey. And I honestly believe that's why we're here.
Absolutely. Trust because you have to remember, well, you don't have to, but the whole point of the game is to remember what you truly are. And that's infinite source, infinite energy, infinite light. And so I bring this up often. This is a theme on this podcast because I'm here to educate. And I feel it's important for people to know the difference between a spiritual practitioner, energy practitioner, someone that is really truly in alignment And doing this for the reason, not just for money, but doing this because it's a life passion. And I call them fake healers. And I think there's many of them now. And so I like people to talk about what exactly, and really people listening to this know what a fake healer is because I talk about it often. But essentially, there's just this whole, it's like people wanting a handbag, this handbag because it's popular. It seems to be very popular to be a healer now. So I want people to know the difference between someone that's actually has great intentions versus someone that's just looking to take your money. And we do know, JJ, that there is an awful lot of, I guess you could call psychics out there that just want to take your money and they're fortune tellers. And I don't even believe in any of that. I don't think it's real. So, what would you recommend for people if they are, because you work with so many different practitioners, what would you recommend for people to look out for or to find within themselves? How would you help somebody to be more comfortable with working with someone?
Such a good question. Such a good question. I think our outside is a reflection of our inside. And so I work really hard at being authentic, being trustworthy, doing what I say I'm going to do, and just really being the best version of myself. And I work at that every single day. And we have opportunities minute by minute, hour by hour of the choices we make. I would say I'm very fortunate that I really haven't met like a phony practitioner. I haven't. Now, have I met practitioners that have been incredibly helpful? Yes. Have I met some that have not? Yes. But to me, each one of them is an opportunity for me to feel into how do I feel being in the presence of this person? Does this
Mhm.
feel good or does this feel scary? Does this feel illuminating or does this feel sluggish? I'm a big believer in checking in no matter what you're doing. If you're hiring a client, if you're hiring a web designer, if you're getting a reading, if you're, traveling with someone, just like leaning into who you are and just sitting in the presence of your body. And you can use your body. Like people have taught me before, like you stand still, like yes is forward, back is no, or ask your body, show me yes, show me no. And you can test things with your own body weight by just being in the presence of people. And I think it really gives you an opportunity to be present and use your body as a tool to check in and see how the experience feels before you jump into, a $5,000 retreat or a $5,000, session. Because I feel like for a lot of us, we just have to really hone in on how we are connecting with the energy, what we expect out of it, and what our intuition is telling us.
Yeah, that's amazing. It is the discernment in using your body as a tool. I call it the messenger from the soul. And your body really will tell you what the soul is trying to communicate. And yes, I agree. I don't experience this anymore. But as someone when I was awakening, there was a lot of people that came into my experience, and it helped me to awaken more to
Mhm.
myself. So alchemizing that, but it took me a long time to really be able to have that discernment because I think what I get is a lot of people that are empaths and healers that they want to help. And sometimes people get attracted to you that don't necessarily have the great best intentions. So I guess I could say the word would be naive for a long time. And so just for anyone that might have had that similar sort of experience, because you can kind of be angry. You come out of it maybe feeling angry that why did I trust that person? And so it's learning how to protect your energy so that you don't attract people into your experience like that anymore. Because we always attract what we need. And you're right, it is a mirror. So we need those experiences to be finally say to ourselves, okay, I'm done with this. I don't need this, I guess, lesson anymore, or whatever it is that that particular energy frequency was here to help you to awaken to. So, but yeah, I'm just always curious what people say because it is important that people are working with people that have great intentions, practitioner healers that have great intentions, and are really here to help you in a very profound, deep way that is not just money focused.
And at the end of the day, you have to be the captain of your own ship. So, just kind of as you're reflecting on this, I'm thinking of a few situations. I remember being on a trip one time and someone saying something, and until I really thought about it, I don't really remember it. It's like, what are you going to hold on to too? So like, if you have a bad reading or you have a bad experience, like, if you choose to hold on to that energy, you'll probably reproduce it again and again. If you just choose to say like, interesting, not my cup of tea, and move on, like, again, that's a crossroads for you. Like, every opportunity is a decision to see, am I going to lean towards love or am I going to lean towards fear? And if you focus on a lot of the things that don't work out, like, you're just attracting more of that energy. And the reality too is like, everybody is going through their own stuff. Just because I've been doing this for 10 years does not mean I've stopped. Like, I have situations through the people in my relationships that are teaching me on a regular basis. And I have some repeat offenders that are some of my biggest lessons have come through them. And I probably chose them. So I just
Mhm.
feel like you can't give all of your power to someone and hope they're going to solve a problem for you. It's like collecting little breadcrumbs to say, okay, I got this information, I got this, I got this, and using what makes sense for you to build the path that works best for you.
Yeah, love that. Absolutely love that. That's perfect. Yeah, it's very multi-dimensional, multi-layered, right? Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Thank you, JJ. Well, I we talked about your book a little bit. But is there anything you want to tell us about your book that's coming out in May, which is Illuminate Your Path, the Six Phases of Spiritual Awakening? We talked a lot about the spiritual awakening and the six phases, but is there anything you want to share?
It's just so funny because I had gone to a couple different practitioners. I get readings for myself probably every month, different situations. And I'm always working with my guests too and different sessions they're having because I feel like it's like the flow, like getting like the infinity sign going. And so I'm a big believer in investing in the people that I'm interviewing as we had our time together. And a couple of my sessions last year mentioned I was writing a book, and I had already written 3 books, and I had absolutely no desire to write another book, not one. And I went to about 2 or 3 different readings, and 2 of them were like, "Oh, and so you're publishing another book?" I'm like, "No, I'm not." And I was talking to one of my spiritual friends, Beckett, and he was like, "Well, I mean, if people are telling you you're writing a book, why don't you just start writing?" I'm like, "No, no, I'm not gonna write. I don't wanna do it?" And so I just think it's funny because sometimes these readings see things out way ahead of where you are at the moment, and it was about a month and a half later, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna start writing and just see what comes out." And it was like a flood of information. Like, I was like, "Wait, what is going on here?" And it came out really fast. And I was able to really look through all the transcripts of all of the guests that I've had and start to see the patterns. I'm a pattern reader, so that's one of my gifts.
Mhm.
So I was like, wait a minute, there is a really serious pattern here. And then I was looking back at my life, and, it came out much faster than I thought it was going to. And it's funny because I just don't think I was even thinking that was gonna be the time I did it, but now I'm seeing that all my astrology, everything is shifting to, like, a whole new, not even chapter, like a whole new game, book, whatever you call it, and this is such a big on-ramp for where I'm going, and it was absolutely necessary for me to turn the shift to get this down on paper. So, you know, I might have just said after those readings, yeah, no, I'm not doing any of that. I don't know what they're talking about. But sometimes you get messages that aren't relevant for months and sometimes years later. So, you just have to write your stuff down, revisit it. And if you're being told about something that could be possible, like, open up your channels to explore it.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because these people that you've connected with, the practitioners and the readers and the healers that you work with and have become friends, and your collective of your I say your peeps, that they're spirit guides. They're spirit guides, and that they are channeling from your higher self. And what we don't realize, well, I mean, you and I get this now, but maybe people listening to this is that we can get so caught up in the human mind that we've completely lost the connection with the higher mind, which is who we truly are. And so these people that are your peeps are channels that are opening to they don't have any ego attached to anything. They're just doing what they're good at, and they're channeling information from your higher self. And so this is really beautiful that you get this information, and your higher self was probably like saying like, "Hey, you got to like get her to write that fourth book. Like we really need to do this." And so all these friends of yours that the other healers were able to get the message through, but it seemed foreign to you at the time because you're not even thinking about that because you're not connecting with your higher self in that way. And so yeah, it is very cool. I tell people all the time that people can come into your life. Spirit guides don't necessarily have to be in spirit. It
Oh,
could be a
right.
human.
Mm. So true. I have so many of them around me. It's crazy. And they show up and they call me and say things. And I love this because now it gives people a path. And so if you're looking to be like, okay, where am I on this path? Am I even in phase one? Am I in phase four? There's going to
Mhm.
be a quiz below that you can check out that you
Mhm.
could determine where you are in your phases and what's the work you need to do now and what is the work ahead. And you might even want to reflect back to what is the work you've already done because there is a lot of celebration opportunities for where you've been to appreciate where you're going.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And absolutely, we'll make sure that that quiz is linked in the show notes so you guys can check that out. And is there anything that you feel that you would like to share with the listeners? Any last advice or intuitive messages? I always like to do this at the end, and I'd love to hear if there's anything you want to share.
Yes, I really love all my guests on my podcast. Together We Seek. They're trusted, they're vetted, and they're people that I've worked with. I've had done almost sessions with almost all of them myself. And I feel like if you're at a place where you're not sure what to do, you can just kind of page through different podcasts or come in the Together We Seek online community and just see who speaks to you because the messengers are here. They're here to help us and they've been through similar work. So I feel like if you need a little guidance, I'm working with Lindsay or myself to help you find, somebody that might be right for you based on where you're going. But I would also say just listen, just listen. Like all the practitioners that I met with came to me often through other people or through an email or a flyer I came across. And I was like, let me just see. Let me just see. I put a little kitty of money together for practitioner visits as part of my research and self love. Money's a big thing. A lot of times we don't want to invest in people because we're like, oh, well, I could use some money elsewhere. But money is a tool to advance where you want to go and it has a frequency just like everything else. And so getting a kitty together of a little bit of money that you can go visit different people and start to kind of put your breadcrumbs together, see what books cross your path, see what conversations you're leaning into, because all of those are messages to help you on your path.
I love how you put all that together. Yeah, absolutely. Well, JJ, it was so wonderful to have you on the show today. And I'm just so excited about everything that you shared. And I will share everything in the show notes and make sure to check out her book, which is coming out in May. Super excited about that. And thank you so much.
So much. I love this conversation and I'm excited for where you're going and the conversations you're having here. So thank you.
That was JJ DiGeronimo. Go find her at Together We Seek podcast, link in the show notes, and let her work meet you the way it met me today. One more thing before you go. My second book, The High Frequency Mind, The Truth of Your Infinite Self, a transmission for those ready to remember, drops June 2026. It's not a self help book, it's a transmission into remembering who you truly are. If something in you just got quiet reading that, you already know. Stay tuned, pre order coming next week. Until next time, wake up and come home.